Frankie Muniz may have been one of the biggest stars of the 90s, but his true story just goes to show, sometimes life really is unfair. The rigors of stardom can have a devastating impact on even the most mature actors, and at a young age, Frankie Muniz discovered he wasn't immune to this phenomenon. As a child, Muniz's parents supported his burgeoning acting career, and over the years, he's been open about the fact that he owes his entire life in Hollywood to his parents. Sadly, however, his career came at a terrible cost. When he was just a child, Muniz's mother, Denise, moved with her young son out to Los Angeles to help him pursue his acting dream. The rest of the family, however, was left behind. Specifically, Muniz's sister and father remained in North Carolina, and the fallout was swift. During their time apart, Muniz's mother and father divorced. To make matters worse, the financial rewards of Muniz's career didn't benefit the rest of his family the way they could have. Appearing on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Muniz later said, "I don't know how much positivity it brought to the family. I wasn't part of the family since I was 11, because that's when I left." When Malcolm in the Middle came to an end, Frankie Muniz turned his attention away from Hollywood. Living out many a boy's dream, he pursued a surprising career as a race car driver.
I hope they were watching out, because I'm coming. I'm still learning. I'm nowhere near Peter.
While this new life got him out of the limelight, it wasn't without its own challenges, as a high-risk profession led to a number of physical ailments. He told People magazine, "I'm using muscles that I've never used before. The backs of my knees are sore. Every day there are new pains, but I can't stop." And Muniz is no stranger to an injury or two, having told the outlet that he had broken 38 bones since 2006. Those physical traumas eventually began to take their toll on him too. He added, "As a kid, I did everything. I played ice hockey, soccer, basketball, soccer, but a year ago I went roller skating and I was literally the dad holding on to the rail. I realized I have to take care of myself." In the same interview, Muniz opened up about what might have been his worst racing accident while behind the wheel, crashing his car into a wall after rolling end over end several times. He said, "I broke my back, ankle, 4 ribs, and my hand. My thumb was dangling by the skin." Despite the long odds, Muniz became quite successful on the racing circuit. But between acting, racing, and later playing in an indie rock band, Muniz's health began to decline. Speaking to People magazine, he said, "From the time I was 8 years old, I never stopped working. In 20 years, I had maybe 30 vacation days. I realized I was exhausted." Things came to a head in 2012 when the actor suffered the first of several transient ischemic attacks, known more commonly as mini strokes.
It's definitely a wake-up call.
These attacks don't leave any permanent damage, but are caused by brief blockages of blood flow to the brain. Muniz recalled, "First, I lose my peripheral vision, and I can see people, but I can't recognize them. I can see words, but I can't tell what they say. Then I start going numb. It's a gross feeling, but I now know when it's going to come. I usually go lay down and wait for it to be over." As Muniz tells it, he suffered about 16 such attacks in his lifetime. Frankie Muniz has faced another medical issue that caused trouble for him over the years, a serious case of memory loss, and it's something he's battled for years without an official diagnosis. As he's gotten older, he says he's found it difficult to remember parts of his time on Malcolm in the Middle, as well as other parts of his early life. He once told People magazine, "I only know what it's like to be me, or have my brain, so I'm only reminded of how bad my memory is when people come to me and go, 'Oh, you remember when we did this? Remember we went on this trip to this country?' Some of this might be attributed to those events taking place in his early childhood, but according to Muniz, it goes beyond your usual faded memories. He says, "I have no recollection of those experiences, but in my head, it's not like I feel bad or sad about it." Of course, Muniz's trouble with memory could be from a series of head injuries he suffered over the years. Speaking on Steve-O's podcast Wild Ride, he said,
"But a lot of my memories now are almost like I can't distinguish if it was a dream or if it was reality."
Like any star in Hollywood, Frankie Muniz has been the target of celebrity columnists for many years. The rise of social media, however, has added an extra layer of discomfort for the actor, as fans and non-fans alike have spun stories about his private life. The spread of misinformation has plagued him, a discomforting aspect of fame that Muniz pushed back against for years, and part of that misinformation relates to his stories of memory loss. During his appearance on Dancing with the Stars, the show played up that memory loss and edited his comments on the issue to make it seem like he had a form of amnesia. Speaking on the Pardon My Take podcast, he said,
Now, if you search my name, it basically says I don't remember.
Anything,
Like
right.
51st dates, my wife has to wake up every morning and like tell me who she is.
Muniz expressed frustration with the overblown media attention over the issue.
People come up to me all the time and they're like, "Oh, do you know who you are?"
Speculation over his memory loss isn't the only trouble Frankie Muniz has had with the media. In 2011, Muniz, then 25, called the police over a domestic disturbance involving him and his girlfriend Alicia Turnbow. When the dust had settled, it was reported that Muniz had surrendered a firearm to police. In a story published by Radar Online, a 911 call from Muniz himself alleged that his girlfriend had been drinking and the couple had been fighting as a result. Turnbow claimed that Muniz had been holding a gun to his own head, but she nevertheless insisted that he wasn't suicidal. According to statements, it was an unfortunate unfortunate escalation of a domestic squabble. Despite the fact that no charges were filed by either party, the tabloids ran wild with the story. In the years since, Muniz has expressed further frustration with how the incident was portrayed in the press. He told Fox News, "The fact that the story ran the way it did was just insane to me. It was just a fake, overblown story." The set of a hit TV show is often an exciting place, but it's not without its issues. Actors, producers, and directors are all subject to the same workplace stresses as the rest of us, and Frankie Muniz had to deal with plenty of problems on the set of Malcolm in the Middle. As Muniz tells it, there was even an infamous period during the production of the series when tensions got so high that the actor walked off the set. As a result, he's missing from 2 episodes of the series. On I'm a Celebrity, Muniz later said, "Everyone was so afraid to stand up when certain people were controlling or rude or disrespectful. I was so mortified by seeing people afraid to stand up for themselves." Determined to protect himself and his fellow cast members, Muniz, as the star of the show, took matters into his own hands. He added, "I didn't care if they told me I was never going back because it was worth it to me." Plenty of Hollywood A-listers have suffered high-profile romances that ended in heartbreak, and Frankie Muniz is no different. Rich and famous by the time he was a teenager, the TV star dated fellow actors such as Hilary Duff and Amanda Bynes. Then, at the tender age of 20, he got engaged to then-girlfriend Jamie Gandy. The year was 2005, and while his proposal was accepted, the pair never tied the knot. Years later, Muniz announced that they'd broken off the engagement, but he insisted they were still together, sort of. In 2008, he told People magazine, "It's a very awkward situation, but we're best friends, and if there was anyone in the world that I wanted to be with, it'd be her." Still, Muniz admitted that things weren't going smoothly, telling the outlet that with all the travel involved in his blossoming racing career, finding time together had become difficult. By 2009, they were no longer together at all, and Muniz was getting serious with fashion entrepreneur Alicia Turnbow. The duo dated for several years, but they too called it quits after a brief engagement. In 2020, Muniz finally walked down the aisle with model Paige Price, who is still his wife today. When he was first cast in Malcolm in the Middle, Frankie Muniz was barely 15 years old, and within months he'd become a superstar.
You want to know what the best thing about childhood is? At some point, it stops.
For 7 seasons, he played the precocious, super smart Malcolm, continuing his run well into his early 20s. While he'd moved to the big screen during his time on TV, Muniz was left at a crossroads when the show came to a close. In 2022, he told Fox News, "When I was a Malcolm, I was just so excited to be working on a show. But also in that same sense, when the show ended, I kind of left the business for a little bit." Tired of the day-to-day grind of Hollywood, Muniz used his fame and financial success to explore other areas of interest. He said, "I started doing other things. I was racing cars. I joined a band. I was touring all over." Unsure of how he wanted to live the rest of his life while still young, Muniz had to figure out for himself exactly what made him happy. He told Fox, "I opened some businesses and I got to experience so many amazing things in my life, which now at this point has made me able to reflect and look back and be so appreciative of the experience." Around the same time that he was starring in Malcolm in the Middle, Frankie Muniz began fielding offers for movies, and despite a heavy workload, he successfully stepped up to the big screen. One of his earliest cinematic efforts was the family film My Dog Skip, based on a memoir by Willie Morris and directed by Jay Russell. A modest hit at the box office, the film helped make Muniz a big name just as Malcolm in the Middle was getting started, and Morris actually took it upon himself to become a mentor to the young rising star. In a Reddit AMA, Muniz expressed his sadness about Morris, who died just a day after a particularly heartfelt meeting with him. Muniz wrote, "He gave me this list of all the things he wanted me to do in my life. Like at 16, I want you to be in school and go to college and all these things. And he died the next day. That movie and that experience really affected me and definitely hit close to home." Famous actors must deal with their share of tragedies like anyone else, and Frankie Muniz faced a double dose of devastation in 2018. Taking to X, formerly Twitter, in November of that year, he informed his followers of 2 separate calamities that had befallen him within mere days of each other. The first was a death in the family, and while he was away dealing with the fallout, things at home went wrong thanks to an unlikely culprit. Muniz wrote, "I arrived home from my uncle's funeral to find 4 of my 5-story brownstone home under 3 feet of water. Every wall, piece of artwork, personal photos, furniture. All because my cat accidentally turned on a sink a few days ago while we were gone." In a second tweet, Muniz explained just how hard the twin tragedies affected him. He wrote, "I've cried more yesterday and today than my whole life combined. Forgive me for venting. I just need some support." At the very least, though, Muniz confirmed that both of his cats had survived the flood.